raw, and uncut. I'm TyTeaV Nelson, and welcome back, y'all. It's TyTeaV. All right, so first I want to start off by talking to any new viewers, okay? Hi, I'm Ty, and you can catch my new show each and every Tuesday, okay? Make sure to like and subscribe. If you subscribe, then you will immediately get notified every time I post a new episode, okay? I am booked and busy, okay? So I don't have like an exact time, but I post every Tuesday. I'm a busy girl. So make sure you like and subscribe so it can automatically like send you a notification every time I post a new episode, okay? Alrighty. So today's message is daddy's little girl, okay? And let me stop you there. Any like male viewers, don't go anywhere. You have daughters, you have mothers, you have sisters, you have female cousins. So this is a message that everyone needs to hear, okay? So let's start with my story, okay? So the first time I met my dad, I was 8. I'm excited, you know, the day that I had been waiting on my entire life. You know, it's happening, right? So before meeting him, I dreamed about this day. You know, I dreamed about the day that I would meet my dad. I thought that he would, maybe he had, I don't know, didn't know where I was. Maybe he just couldn't find me. Me and my mom never really talked about it, you know, at that time. I mean, I was young, you know. I can remember like even being in class and, you know, turning in papers and putting his last name as my last name, even though that wasn't my last name. I dreamed of the moment where I met my dad for the first time. I thought he'd come and rescue me and just love on me and just fall in love with me. But when I was 8, when I met my dad, it was nothing like I had imagined, right? So when I met him, I was, you know, I'm from Miami, y'all. And let me be clear, you know, I'm from Miami. I'm from Miami-Dade County. I'm from City Girls. I'm from Rick Ross. I'm from Trina. Miami was at one point listed as the 4th poorest city in the country. It's the hood. So I was in Miami. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment, okay? 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I remember my mom sleeping on the couch and 3 kids all in 1 bedroom sleeping on the floor, okay? And I remember him coming to visit me just under these conditions. And I talk about the conditions because, I don't know, I would think that if a man, you know, saw his daughter living under conditions like that, it would make him want to be more involved. It would make him want to, you know, step in and take charge, you know, but that wasn't my story, okay? So anyway, so my dad comes and sees me, right? And it was like cool at first, whatever, we were talking, and he told me that you have brothers and sisters, you know. He was telling me about my brother Lamar, my brother Emery, my little sister Ashley, and, you know, I couldn't wait to meet them, showing me pictures of them and stuff. It was cool or whatever until I asked him, do you even know my middle name? And I was 8, so I wasn't trying to be like sarcastic or anything. I'm just asking, you know. And he was like, sorry, I gotta get me together at all times. So he was like, do you know mine? And I'm like, no, I don't. You've been missing all my life. This is my first time meeting you, so no, I don't know anything about you, you know. But he was being sarcastic. He wasn't being nice, you know. I remember him like giving me $50 before he left. Gave me $50, and which I think went to my mom, you know. And I remember him giving me his beeper number, okay? So I don't even get a cell phone number, you know, I get the beeper number, right? So I remember after that, days after that, you know, I was calling his pager. He started like taking a long time to respond to me, like, you know, so I'm like putting in 911. I mean, I'm 8, okay? So I'm crazy, right? So I'm like 911, I'm beeping him like crazy, you know, and he never like returned my calls, right? So I'm like, okay. I remember having this picture of him, a photo of him, right? And my dad was a comedian, right? So I remember having this photo of him, and I guess he was like at one of his shows. He looks nice in a tuxedo, and I remember like setting that picture on fire, I was a kid. I remember like burning that, burning that picture. Okay. I mean, I was distraught. You know, I waited to meet this person my entire life. I'm 8. I'm a little girl, and I had dreams of him. I thought he'd meet me. I thought he'd fall in love with me. I thought maybe he just didn't know where I was, couldn't find me, but that wasn't the case. So anyway, I didn't see him again until I think I was like 12, 13. Now I'm like in preteen, puberty stages. So he wasn't ready for that, right? So I remember him like me getting sat in between both parents as I was like 12, 13. So they sit me in between them, my mom and my dad. And they asked me like, who do you want to live with? So I guess at this point in time, my dad wanted me to live with him, right? So everything in me, you know, we were struggling, you know, I was living with my mama, we were struggling, you know. My mom suffered from depression real bad. Eventually, like, she stopped working and stuff, and everything just kind of went downhill after she stopped working or whatever. So everything in me, I wanted to, of course, like, I wanted to go stay with my dad. I did, but I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that in front of my mother. I couldn't do it, so I didn't. And I think it was for the best, you know, I made the best decision or whatever. When I think about it now as an adult, you know, but in that moment, as a 12, 13-year-old girl who didn't have the things that a little girl should have, you know, I was going through a lot of stuff and struggling and living from place to place and no stability, just all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I wanted to go with my dad, you know, but I said no. So when he came and saw me, he brought my little sister to meet me, and we meet for the first time. You know, he takes us out. He took us to this place called Bayside in Miami that was like beautiful, and you know, I was raised as a vegetarian, and I don't think my dad liked that I was raised vegan. I think that was something that he like hated. But I remember him, like, I didn't even really eat meat yet. I kind of was stepping into those grounds, but I remember him giving me my first little teriyaki piece of chicken there. I'll never forget it. It was the first time I ever had it, and it was great. You know, so we had a great time. The next time I talked to him, I was 14. I remember being at my grandmother's house. She had this room. It was called the Peach and Black Room, and it was like beautiful, this room I was in. And I ended up calling my dad. I was like 14. I ended up calling my dad, and I remember me just being emotional and having like an outburst. And I was telling him like I wanted to come stay with him. I needed to come live with him. And he told me I couldn't, or whatever, I guess his circumstances, like he couldn't take me at this time, I guess, you know. And I just remember me crying and me just giving him all that puberty energy. He was not ready for my fire. He wasn't ready, right? So anyway, the reason why I reached out to my dad when I was 14 was because of what was going on in the household, right? My mom was the kind of person who, when we got into it and got into altercations or problems arose between us, my mom would put us in programs. She did it to my sister. She put her in like this boot camp. I can remember I was at this place called The Bridge, right? So at The Bridge, there you have kids who were either bad, or you had kids who they didn't have parents. They were probably in the system, right? What my mom never considered is, when she put me in these programs, number one, you're not getting to the root of the problem. Number one, what's the issue? What's the underlying issue, right? And then she never thought about what kind of people was I gonna be around when you put me in these programs. When I was at The Bridge, that's where I met my first boyfriend. And he wasn't good for me, you know. I remember being put in like a psychiatric place when I was young and stuff too. So the first time I was admitted into a psychiatric place, I remember being in a circle, right, of crazy people, right? And one girl, I'll never forget her, right? She was from Ohio, and we were in this circle. We're supposed to talk in this circle, okay? So I remember this girl talking about how she was addicted to cocaine. She was like 15. She was addicted to cocaine, and she had truck drove, like when you put your thumb out on the streets, whatever that's called. And she basically did that all the way to Miami, and talked about how she had sex with truck drivers and performed like oral sex on truck drivers to make it to Miami, to have them transport her to Miami for drugs, right? I was a virgin. So I'm being exposed to things that I would have never been exposed to, or I shouldn't have been exposed to. So that's what my mama didn't like get. She was putting me in environments that that I shouldn't have been in, thinking that it's gonna help me, but it hurt me, you know. So things like that was going on in my life. I tried to move in with my dad. After that, I talked to my dad maybe 3 to 4 more times throughout my life, sporadically. So that's like my whole history with my dad, right, for the most part. So within the last like 2 years, a year and a half or so, 2 years, my primary focus has been, number one, getting closer to God, because I've gone through 30 years of stuff, and I know that that's the only person who can heal me, only person that can heal my wounds, right? And I was focused on just healing. So I'm looking up, you know, just like the side effects of, you know, a daughter growing up without her father, you know. And a few things that they say is, one, that she's more likely to be promiscuous, and it's not true in all cases, but that's one of the statistics. 2, it says they're more likely to have a relationship where they're dating someone that's a lot older, and I did that. I dated a man who was 17 years older than me. A lot of things that my research was saying, it was nailing me like 100%, okay? 3, it says that you can find yourself in the wrong relationships because you didn't have that example. You didn't have that role model. You didn't have that father to show you what kind of man to even choose. You have no idea. I can go on and on about the negative things that comes out of your dad not being around, right? But you know what? I have found some great things in it too. You know, I am very cautious when it comes to who I sleep with. I am very cautious about, you know, I'm big on Planned Parenthood. I'm big on being married first before I have kids. The thing good that came out of it is even my relationship with God. You know, I think it's a great bond. I think it's an amazing bond. A father and a son, I think it's amazing. But I just think it's a different kind of bond. A dad and his daughter. I just feel like I'm his daughter. You know, my dad wasn't around, so he was 100%, he's my earthly father and my heavenly father. So his duty is twice. His job is twice the job, right? And I just think there's something special about that. I think it's something special about my relationship with God because my father wasn't there, you know, and I lived my life like just knowing that God gonna take care of me. He's my father. He's gonna provide. It made me just feel even more, you know, just connected and even more loved by God is what it did for me, you know. The one thing that I just want to say to any little girl out there watching, any little boy out there watching, any grown man watching, any grown woman watching, and your dad was not there, I just want you to know that everything in life happens like how it's supposed to. God's got a plan for your life, and He's got you. You know, I went my whole life not understanding that I had a father. I had a father all the while watching over me, all the while. So you're protected. You have the best father that that anyone could ever have. Okay, and instead of looking at it as a negative thing, it could be a blessing in disguise. You could be a worse off person if that person was in your life. God knew the two people who he needed to create you. He needed these two people for you to be exactly who he needed you to be. So your dad served his purpose. Your mom served her purpose. You can beat and go against what statistics say. I did. I'm doing things I dreamed of. I'm doing well for myself, you know, with or without him, you know. Only God knows the why. We ain't gonna always know all the answers, you know. But it could have been for your best interest, them not being there. Men, your dad wasn't there. You turn that negative thing into a positive. Let that help you be the best man that you can be. Let that help you be the best father ever to your children. Ladies, your dad wasn't there. Make sure you choose wisely and choose a man. Find a husband that is going to be so great to you and is going to be the best father ever to your children. Y'all know the saying, when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Real, raw, and uncut, y'all. It's TyTeaV.